This year, at Dockside Electronics, we decided to try something new to help customers select and design their new marine electronics suites. In addition to the equipment always on display in our showroom, we're going to walk you through the choices, placement, and operation of new navigation equipment for a 40-foot cruising sailboat. My name is Ham, and I have been with Dockside for better than 10 years. Prior to that, I worked on sail education vessels, taking high school and college kids on semester at sea programs and eventually shorter programming. When I started learning navigation, GPS was a numeric readout, and we used our radar, compass, and taffrail log just as often for a fix. Things have changed dramatically, and the technology has unnecessarily become just as complex, and for many, just as intimidating as using a sextant. One of the goals with these videos is to simplify the new technologies with practical discussions rather than just technical. Many of you have had me aboard for new electronics orientations, sea trials, or you have joined me in my Seaway skiff to just check out new chart plotters and transducers. This will be similar. I want to show you how the equipment is used outside of the showroom in real situations. We'll be redoing the electronics on a 2002 caliber 40 LRC. For the most part, the electronics are original, with a semi-functional Nexus system, well, depth kind of still works, a Raytheon RL plotter and radar that can't get a GPS fix, but still has a really great radar picture, a Nexus Pilot, which is as difficult to use as the day it was installed, a VHF, and a standalone AIS. Since the Raytheon couldn't handle AIS, it didn't exist then. The only way you can see it is currently on a Bluetooth connection to your phone. We'll be replacing all the equipment with newer navigation electronics. The system is being designed for extended cruising, both coastal and offshore. And while I would love to say that we are being given all this equipment by the manufacturers for free, we are not. That is not to say that we aren't getting a wicked deal. As dealers and through our relationships with the manufacturers and their interest in this project, they are definitely helping make this happen. But as you will see, budget will be a prominent factor in many decisions about nav equipment, as it would be for most of you. We will also be candid about product performance and makeup. The brands being represented in this project did not come to us. I approached them after deciding which projects we wanted for the boat. There are no new devices that weren't researched before choosing. That is to say, the manufacturers didn't say, hey, you got to include this. This is all stuff we chose because we feel it's the right choice for this situation and this boat. A little about the boat. Caliber yachts were designed and built by the McCreary brothers from the early 80s through 2010. They built a 28, a 30, a 33, a 35, a 40, and a 47 over the years, with the LRC, or Long Range Cruiser, being the model that caught my eye. But if you want to learn more about the boats, go online. There's plenty of info. This Caliber 40 LRC was built in Florida in 2002, just as they were changing from the LRC to the LRC SE model. So this boat has many of the updates that were being rolled out in the new model line. She spent the first 19 years of her life in the Great Lakes before heading to the East Coast in the Caribbean. She holds an exceptionally large amount of water and diesel with about 200 gallons of each, hence the LRC. She has 2 cabins, a cutter rig, a Yanmar diesel, roller furl jibs, a full batten mainsail, and all the winches are manual. She has air or water-cooled refrigeration, some solar, and a wind generator. Power comes from a pair of 4D batteries and a start battery. There's no generator and no air conditioning. She has simple systems, which was an important criteria when choosing her as a long-term cruising vessel. With the basic electrical system, we need to make sure our navigation electronics are not too power hungry. The last thing we want to be doing is motoring to charge the batteries. This boat will be crewed by a family of 3, including an 11-year-old, so simplicity of use is a big factor. Placement of displays must be easily in reach and not blocking views from multiple eye heights. I've installed hundreds of systems on new boats and old boats over the years, and the basic formula is an MFD at the helm or helms and one at the nav station below. Instruments over the companionway or at the helm, depending on space. or sometimes cut into the combings. For this boat, I want to go through every option and not just follow the prescribed formula. Let's get started. Before I even began laying out the electronics, I wanted to start with a brand, as that would dictate what products were available and their dimensions. Every manufacturer makes a different MFD, or multifunction device. That's your chart plotter / radar display or fish finder or whatever. Some have buttons and knobs, some are just screen. They make a 7, a 9, a 12, up to like a 22-inch screen. So knowing which brand I was going to go with would limit where I can put different plotters. In the past, I've always had Garmin on my center console, and I've been very happy with their MFDs and transducers. But this is a sailboat, and I wanted to give everybody a fair shake in my planning. Not surprisingly, 4 major brands, Navico, which is B&G, Simrad, and Lowrance, and then Furuno, Garmin, and Raymarine, they all make products that do basically the same thing. Initially, I thought about reliability. Even though I'm getting a deal, this is still my money, and there are a lot of things that the boat needs. So I can't really waste it. In all honesty, it was hard to judge reliability. 6 months ago, I would have said Garmin, no question. But this has been a rough summer for them and for us. Their performance, in reality, might not be any worse than any other brand, but we have so much Garmin out there, and nobody ever calls me to look at their perfectly functioning system. Which kind of goes into the Furuno issue. They are flawless. I never see any bad Furuno. But we have so little of it out there. Can that be a fair comparison? Probably not. Then again, we did just see the new Furuno TZT XL on a Navy system. That was the fastest MFD I've ever used. I like their chart system and had been seriously considering going with a laptop as our main navigation equipment, running Furuno's Time Zero software. Then I learned that the unlock code for the radar on the laptop costs, plenty, and learned about the nuances of buying charts for the laptop and the tablet, and got both confused and discouraged. While I like Furuno charts, they still depend heavily on CMAP cartography for some areas. I do really like the new CMAP X-Gen charts, which is something I would never have said a couple years ago. Then I installed a new B&G SR unit on a boat. It was fast. Furuno fast. The screen was by far the crispest that I've ever used, and the operating system was simple. Did I mention it was fast? Like ridiculously fast? All of a sudden, I was thinking about a B&G plotter, which would use CMAP charts, and I was surprised to be there. I have installed plenty of B&G over the years, and it's always been good, but I generally felt it was for racers, and that I was barely scratching the surface of what it could do. And honestly, our clientele and my interests were not generally on racing, so I didn't really care enough to delve into all the in-depth settings and racing features. Then again, maybe I only need to understand a few things about it to get what I need out of it. Will I ever use the start line features that are advertised prominently on the website? Nope, I won't. But that shouldn't discourage me from using all the things that they do well that I do like the safety alerts, the sail steer page, and the insanely nice screen and cartography. I also like having buttons and knobs still. So in reality, B&G doesn't have to be just for racers. We can use it for cruising. I mean, my iPhone can do a million things too, but most commonly, it's a flashlight and a camera, which I'm fine with. A moment about charts. I started pricing paper charts, as that's what I've always had and always used. They are no longer $9. They're like 4 times that. Chart books outside the US hardly exist, and this upcoming trip is pretty open-ended destination-wise, so buying all possible charts and storing them is unrealistic. According to the internet, nobody makes digital charts that are accurate everywhere. Some blogger here or there swears that Navionics are the only option for the US and CMAP are the only Canadian option, and that neither work in the Bahamas, which requires Explorer charts. Okay, that last one I agree with. I spent a few seasons sailing the Bahamas, and Explorer charts are the only option. I guess that leaves me with using Aqua Maps on a tablet for Explorer charts in the Bahamas. Or maybe I'll buy the chart books. Progress is not being made here. I think the bottom line is that there is no right or wrong answer. Digital cartography is presentation as much as anything else. It's all based on government data, and it's really just how they draw them that makes the difference. So as long as they're accurate, we're just dealing with different color schemes. So for me, I like the CMAP charts, and that's pretty heavily the way I want to go. Back to the B&G SR unit. It's fast. It uses CMAP charts. The screen is clear, even with sunglasses, and I really like their Halo Plus radar, perhaps more than anybody else's. All of a sudden, I was leaning B&G. Then I installed two Simrad NSS4 units, which are essentially the same displays as the B&G, but with Powerboat software. And I was convinced. Considering the other components of the system, I like their pilots. The depth, speed, and temp are made by Airmar, so that's the same for all the brands. So really no difference there. The B&G wind instruments are top of, or at least consistent with the rest of the industry. The Triton 2 displays are fine, but admittedly they're my least favorite of the Garmin and the Raymarine. But in practice, I'm likely to set them to one screen and leave it there, so the menu tree and the operating system really is irrelevant. Going with the CMAP system also allows me to run Navionics on a backup tablet. If something were to go wrong with the electrical system, I want a backup, especially if I can't carry all the paper charts. And Navionics is fully independent on a tablet and offers another brand of charts for comparison in some areas. I really had considered going all tablet-based electronics. I know, I've been telling all of you for years the downside of it. iPads are lousy in sunlight, don't float, and need recharging. All that's true. But the lower cost was appealing. That was until we brought the boat back to Mystic with basically no electronics other than depth and radar, using paper charts and the Navionics on my phone. Navionics is fine as a backup, but I do not want it to be my primary nav tool. With just 3 people on board, and often just one on watch, we need another helmsperson. So bring on the NAC 3 pilot by B&G. The autopilot would be completely operable from the chart plotter and also has a keypad. And the autopilot basically adds another crew member who can steer to a compass heading, waypoint, or wind angle. More on that later. By this point, I had a pretty good idea of where I was going with electronics. Okay, I have a brand, the plotter, and radar. The details of Triton displays, autopilot, and location of everything was still forming. I wanted to wait until we had a few months shaking down the boat before deciding all the details of placement and amounts of gadgets. But of course, that didn't happen. Yes, B&G offered us a wicked deal for the equipment, but it wasn't free. And here comes the next round of tariff pricing. I had 48 hours to make an order before my deal went up a significant percentage. I placed an order for what I thought will cover almost all of our needs. And, I'm happy to have all the equipment to hold in place rather than just cardboard cutouts while we were sailing. But I really would have liked to be sure of what would work on the boat rather than what I thought would work.
Okay, so I was going to go right into choosing our plotter location on the boat, but it was suggested to me by our youngest crew member that perhaps this was long enough and that nobody really needs to hear me talk for twice as long in a row. Brief discussion, we all agreed, we'll cut it off here. But before we close, the new electronics for our Caliber 40 LRC arrived, and here's what they look like. I did get ahead of me and open up a few things just to check them out. And while I'm thinking of it, I want to mention that something that's fairly important but goes unnoticed, especially because we do all the installations and unpacking of your stuff. But we often see and hear about giant corporations and companies telling us that they're reducing their pollution and doing whatever to reduce their carbon footprint. And honestly, other than taking their word for it, we never really see the impact. But Navico, which is B&G, Simrad, and Lowrance, the parent company of these guys, has done something that we do get to see. And while this looks like a giant pile of equipment, it's probably about 75% packaging, if not more. And amazingly, in here, no plastic bags. That's fantastic. We're unpacking them on boat decks. We're doing it outside. It's often windy. I'd be lying if I said nothing ever fell in the water, including tools. But having no plastic is really a nice thing. The amount of trash that we generate in a normal installation is pretty disgusting. It's a lot. And for equipment that's supposedly weatherproof and supposed to be out in the open, it's really hard to understand why this stuff has to be wrapped in so much plastic. It's one of the reasons I really appreciate that Navico, B&G, Simrad, Lowrance really have gone out of their way to not have plastic in there. For companies that are relying on people enjoying the water and being outdoors and nature, it's pretty incomprehensible why they generate so much plastic waste when really where we see the majority of plastic waste is in the water. For example, let's look at a product here. Grab the GPS antenna, which is right here. And in it is, well, a holder, which first off, you're going to say right away, I thought you said no plastic bags. This is not plastic. It is some sort of, well, it says this bag is water soluble, ocean safe, and biodegradable. It breaks down harmlessly and is non-toxic to soil and sea. So it's some sort of, I don't know, seaweed or I have no idea. Whatever they make the packaging peanuts out of and stuff like that. It's not plastic. So there's that. There's another one around the GPS antenna. And we have cardboard packaging. All the fittings are in a cardboard or yeah, it's kind of like a cardboard paper. And that's it. Not a lot of plastic. In fact, none. Let's compare that to one of their competitions, GPS antennas. I open that up. One plastic bag for the antenna. It's bubbly, but still plastic. One plastic bag for the pole mount. Another plastic bag for the underdeck mount. We have some cardboard. Here's another plastic bag for the deck mount, and a plastic bag for the screws in it, and a plastic bag for the set screw in it. So this little bag has 1, 2, 3 in it. So we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4 already. Plastic bag for the T, plastic bag for the screw. That's another 2. Plastic bag for the cable, and that's it. That's what, 10 plastic bags in one GPS antenna. Love to say that that's an extraordinary amount for one of their products, but there's plastic bags for everything. So there's a little quick comparison of what B&G has done. They also do write it on their boxes somewhere. Of course, I can't see one now, but oh, here we go. Protecting our oceans, rivers, and lakes protects our future. Packaging with principles. We are committed to removing all plastic from our packaging, and we are moving towards using recycled paper, certified sources, and eco-friendly links. So I really like the way they've gone with that. I really appreciate it. And while I don't ultimately choose every electronics package that goes into a boat, I do appreciate when I get to recycle instead of trash all the packaging from a B&G installation. So that's really appreciated, and it's worth a mention that environmental impact is something I do care about. It's something I think about when I purchase a product, and it's just really nice for them to see it, and I'm sure they get no acknowledgement from it from most consumers and dealers, and just want to throw that out there because we have made lots of comments to manufacturers in the past about the amount of trash that comes with every installation, and Navico really seems to be going in the right direction. So we appreciate it. Thanks for listening. I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I hope that other manufacturers will keep up with Navico's efforts. But enough on that. In our next video, we will go over how I chose the location for the chart plotter, which took a bit longer and was much more complicated than you would expect. So thanks, and hopefully you enjoyed the first video of our refit series.